This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
This is your Will the Wolves Fall into the Trap? Leader Fan Radio Network,
Believe,
and KFAN.com. 1 minute, well, probably more like 2 minutes and 2 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Welcome back. It is a Memorial Day edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. It's not best of, it's live, it's local, and it's from the belly of the beast for today, Target Center, where in just a few hours your Timberwolves will take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in game number 4 of the Western Conference Finals. All the action on the Fan regular pregame show, I believe, will start at 7, and then tip-off, I'm assuming, is probably between 7:30 and 7:40. My name's Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Guardsy is here as producer as well. We thank, from the bottom of both of our hearts, Brett Blakemore, who by basically blowing off his gal and, just ignoring that he could have had a nice off day, helped us out today. So he's back at headquarters in St. Louis Park, which allowed Guardsy to be here as well. So we thank you, as always, the utility man extraordinaire, Brett Blakemore.
You're welcome. Still dealing with the fallout, but we'll work with it.
Yeah, you'll get through it. If you need, I'll send a note.
We've all been there, buddy.
Yeah,
we've all been there.
Part of the gig.
You got to navigate it. We've all been there.
We're delighted to be on location today with a game that now feels like it means something, right? The worst case scenario, which we discussed off air, was, all right, we're committed to the bit. Even if they're down 3-0, we're going to go ahead and do the show because I still think it would be the right thing to do, and it's planned already. But let's face it. It would be a far more funereal feel from the start of this program if they're down 3-0. Everybody knows the numbers. No team has ever come back from 3-0 in an NBA playoff series. I think it's happened in hockey a little.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened in basketball. But that was indeed not the case. So now you feel like we're here for a reason. We feel like there's something that might be at stake. It feels more vital. Now, again, in the Skyway area, there ain't a lot of people going by yet, but I'm sure it's going to get festive pretty quickly, and we're going to have several outstanding guests today. In fact, the situation's fluid enough, we might add a couple in the early part of the program, but among the folks who are already confirmed to stop by and see us today, George Sedano, sideline reporter extraordinaire. He does some TV and some radio. In this case, I think for Game 4 tonight, he is on the radio side, so doing sideline reporting. So he will join us probably between 4 and 4:30, Guardsy believes. Johnny Athletic, 5:02. And Michael Grady's going to stop by to see us 6:15, late enough that you think we have permission to perhaps put Howlin' with the Homies back just a minute or two?
I think we could preempt the Homies for 3-4 minutes if need be.
Yeah.
I don't think Max would be offended by that.
I would hope not.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
So that's a very good lineup as it is, and we indeed might be able to add to it before this program is done. Because as I said, this isn't on tape. This is live. And it
may sound like best of, because that's how good the content's going to be for the next 3.5. You might go, God, these guys are bringing it.
Yeah.
It's a best of Monday. It sounds like it's live. It might sound like the usual greatness from best of, but this is actually just us today.
Are you alleged the other day that you thought we were the only live show in the Fan today? Was that confirmed?
I think so.
Nice.
I haven't been listening.
That's even better.
Sun up to sundown.
That's even better. We had a great audience on sermons, by the way. The text just poured in. Because, people are pumped. Let's face it. That's what's different. If you're down 3-0, nobody's going to care.
Correct.
The people who aren't on vacation. But even if you're on vacation, you can still get us, obviously, via iHeartRadio from the cabin. And so there was an extra bounce in the step of the texters. I could tell on that basis alone that we felt like we have a chance to see a series actually break out here. And obviously, we spent a lot of time on it on yesterday's program. Alan Horton also joined us. And we get into that issue of, and this has to do with the trap. The trap is obvious, that you feel like you've opened a door, you've stormed through a door that you're never going to have to worry about reopening, that you unraveled some mystery to solving the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Wolves might have. It's very possible they did. But the danger is assuming that once you've opened that door, there ain't no stopping you.
Right.
And you know and I know. Well, I'm willing to predict it, but maybe this is going to be one of those weird series where none of the games are competitive. But I want to believe, I think this is going to be Game 4 tonight is likely to be the first game that's competitive to the fourth quarter, because we really have not had a game like that through the first three, and this has been a very different series than the Knicks Pacers in that regard. And, the good news is everybody said the right things after the games. I heard it from Julius Randle, among others. We haven't done anything. Conley saying, look, this only shows what we are capable of, and if we don't continue to bring what we did to the bit in Game 3, it's on us. We have nobody but to blame but ourselves. But I still think you have to understand you're going to get, I'll be shocked if you don't get a different Oklahoma City, because their feelings have to be hurt. And they may well know that even though you could say they can more easily afford losing Game 4 than the Wolves, for all the obvious reasons that the series goes back to Oklahoma City next, I got to believe they're saying, well, if we are what we want to be thought of as a great team, it's not a good look when you lose by 42 at any point in any series, especially now. This isn't first round, this isn't second round. Now you're in the conference finals, for God's sake.
Right.
So I think, to me, there were a couple stories written on the question of part of why people should feel better about the Wolves situation is they didn't win in a close game. They dominated that game, and that delivers a message not just to the other team, but to your own team, that you gain a measure of confidence that maybe we have figured some things out, right? I think that's a legitimate part of the story. But I also think, I said this Sunday, I don't know if you agree, I think you will, if the Wolves lose tonight, nobody's going to remember how many points they beat Oklahoma City by.
That's true.
This is the beauty of what they did in that game, and it was an impressive statement, I thought, start to finish. There's no question about that. Was that it did open the door. But this, to me, as we talked late last week, was Game 4 was always going to be the game. If you have to start it by winning 3 or 4 is meaningless. But then 4 is going to be the one where you sort of double down on the point that you made an opening. You found vulnerabilities, and you can exploit it for more than one game where, for whatever reason, they're not there, or it's just going to end up being a blip on the radar.
That's 100% correct. That's what Saturday represents. That's what tonight represents. And this might be wishful thinking. Maybe I'm just hoping for this. I think tonight could be an absolute classic game. Like, that's what I'm really hoping for. I have no idea if the Wolves are going to win. We obviously know the path for them, too. We know, because Oklahoma City's going to bring it. Mm-hmm. 3 days ago, they're hearing people say they might not lose a game the rest of the postseason. They might just run through this and be one of the best teams that we've seen in the history of the NBA. They don't want a dogfight. They know the intensity that the Wolves brought essentially from the jump after they got down 4-0 on Saturday night. I think tonight, since Saturday night, I've been thinking about Game 4, just as a rube, not even as a Wolves rube, as just a basketball rube of this could be an incredible classic conference finals game that if you are a fan, especially if one of your teams is in it, you just want to be a part of. And so I'm hoping, obviously, everybody will take another 40-point Wolves victory or comfortable Wolves victory, but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. I think Oklahoma City's going to play much better. I think Shea's going to be assertive much more quickly than he was.
Yeah.
Going back to Saturday, I thought towards the end of the first half, he tried to get going a little bit, but by then it was kind of too late. So I think, tonight is the game of the season, maybe the biggest game we've seen since Game 6 a year ago against Denver.
Yeah.
They sent it back to Denver.
I mean, if it's 2-2, if the Wolves do tie it tonight, you can still make the argument. It's still Oklahoma City series. 2 of the last 3 games are at home. But I think with the counterpunching, then I think it wouldn't be quite as outlandish to think that the Wolves might threaten even without home court edge. But you have to sustain it. And look, the offense they shot better. They were, 50% from 3. That changes a lot of things. But I still believe that what changed most dramatically is what happened on the defensive end. I really do. As you said, from the only thing that Horton and I were talking about this, the scary part was the start, because the first 2 Oklahoma City baskets could not have been easier. And you're going
unmolested.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
what are we about to see?
Yeah,
but
they had a wide open look for a 3, I think, to go 7-0.
That's true.
And it clanked. And you said, "Thank God."
And yet, from that point forward, they clearly changed a couple of things that we discussed a lot yesterday, and that was they attempted to finally stop Oklahoma City from getting to the spots they're comfortable getting, and that to me looked like they started their defense a lot higher. They blitzed everything. There's always the risk with that you can get some backdoor stuff going. Sure. It's almost like they said, I don't care. We're gonna test you here, and we're gonna make it difficult for you to turn those corners. Rudy played much less drop coverage, and that defense was what we remember of the Doberman defense from a year ago, right? They answered in that regard, and to me, that's what, from a mental standpoint and just even an energy standpoint, changed everything. Now, we know this is a team that does tend to slump defensively if their offense isn't very good. So I don't want to minimize how much better the offense was and the shooting was, but that's what I loved. Now I think the head coach can can put the tape up and say, see what we can do defensively.
Right.
This is what can happen to them. We can put at least an element of doubt in their minds, even if it's not likely that they're going to give up to the degree that they did in Game 1. That's what struck, I think, pretty much everybody in the building almost from start to finish, and was just a huge part. Obviously, even Edwards had a couple nice steals. Rudy had leading to dunks, etc. So, one of the other quotes that I talked a lot about yesterday was, I'm sure you read about it or saw it, Finchie saying, sooner or later we had to throw the fastball.
Yep.
And it's a good analogy. It was, I think, indicative of a couple different things, that maybe they were playing too soft, they weren't as assertive. The other thing that's come up is, maybe in his mind, the off-speed stuff was kind of trying to try the zone defense that Denver used with some success. And what we come to find out is, for whatever it's worth, the Wolves can't execute that defense anywhere near as well as Denver did.
Right.
So then you're back to, well, don't do something. That's where the scouting report can be dangerous.
Yep. Hey,
let's see what they did. We got it. If it worked for them, why not for us? And I think what Finchie finally said, screw it. That's not what we do well. Let's do what we do well. Let's start overplaying stuff. Let's get in those lanes. And I do think, as much discussion has been about officiating in this whole series already, too much for me, that part of what does influence refs is, if you play a certain way from the beginning, I think, and still pretty cleanly, I think, without stupid fouls, I think you can be rewarded, and maybe you end up getting away with more than you would otherwise. And I think that also very much helped the cause.
You have to be who you are at this time of year. I hear that in, me, I'm a big March Madness fan, so I'm always watching the press conferences of the coaches. And they all say that when they get asked questions about, did you try this, did you try that? And you go, this is what we've done all season long. This is what got us here. We have to be who we have been for, in college, it's 30-plus games. In the NBA now, you're approaching 100 games. I understand the instinct to go, how did Denver muck it up? Because OKC's been great all year. I understand that instinct, but you also have to remember who you have. And you mentioned Ant, as good a half in every phase that we've seen, really. I mean, every 3 they've got, too, felt calmer. Like, it didn't feel rattled or frazzled, and I think that was just because of the control that he had over the whole proceeding. And he wasn't like crazy or demonstrative he was almost like surgical and just like, I'm going to get this steal. He had 8 rebounds, I think, in the first half. Unbelievable tone.
Well, what did we hear? At least one or two of the Jackals had stories indicating that Edwards wanted to cut himself after when I say cut, I mean like release him from the team, that he was so unhappy with his own performance.
Yeah.
And that all the accolades he's received, that he really wasn't worthy of it. So that's good when your best player takes it as personally as I think he should. Even though in Game 2, he was obviously a lot better.
He played well.
Than he was in Game 1. All right, let's do this. Let's get our first pause in early. Is it Bonus Bucks Day on Memorial Day or not so much?
Not for the holiday.
Not for the holiday.
We'll be back
Fair
tomorrow.
Enough. All right, we'll take a quick pause. We are at the Target Center Cage location. Pretty empty now. I'm assuming it's going to get a little crazier as we get closer to tip-off.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
The Fan and Sioux Cup Manufacturing bring you Fan on the Farm each day through the end of the month, 9 to noon. We'll be taking your tractor talkbacks, where one farmer will be chosen to receive a Sioux Cup prize pack, including a Carhartt cooler, and a Brewmate Growler canteen. Full list of rules, KFAN.com/farm. Sioux Cup Manufacturing Company, helping farmers feed and fuel the world.
Got a question for longtime parking lot A, B, or C. I guess you could say
patrons.
Because thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you. We
that.
agree.
Even
Thank
through
you.
the glass. I don't think she did. Maybe she thinks it's Sedano and Stink. By the way, Sedano's supposed to stop by between 4 and 4:30. We're looking forward to that visit. No, I have noticed this year, or at least, and maybe this has been true all season, because I wasn't going to very many games early, that something I've been clamoring for literally 30 years.
Yeah.
30.
I know where this is going.
Has finally changed, or it's an accident, that now when you come to games, you got to pay up front.
Yeah.
And that means, on the other end, the gate is up.
Yeah.
You don't have to, each person, their gate's back down. Now I got to fit the credit card. Oh, drop the card. Now I got to get out of the car.
Yep.
All that stuff.
Yep.
And so the flow out of this building, these parking ramps, is tremendous. So do we know who we can thank for finally breaking the logjam?
I think it's you. I think it's you. I think with all humility, I think you should. But it's been very recently, because I know there's some regular season games where I've had to pay on the way out, this year.
Okay.
So maybe it's just for the playoffs. Maybe they started it when the Target Field also opened and all the ramps are going to be full. I don't know. But other people can tweet at us and let us know for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty positive for regular season games, a couple of them that I came to this year, I paid on the way out. And this time, now they've got the attendants usually at the bottom saying, we're going to pay now.
Yes,
going to help you out with it.
They're there even to help.
They are.
Exactly.
Which you shouldn't need, but it happens.
A lot of us do.
You don't.
Well, kind of.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's been great, though. Yeah, the other night, Saturday night, same thing. And the other thing, too, is half the crowd left with like 6 minutes left on Saturday night. So they were already gone, and people were staying. So we were able to. We probably got home in 25 minutes from getting to the car.
I was most proud of my daughter because she refused to leave. I said, "You want to leave early?" She says, "No, we
stayed as well.
I'm going to stay for the whole thing," and so that worked out very, very well. So if we get any detail, if it's just a lucky accident that it's suddenly happening this way, I don't know, but it makes all the sense in
It's
the world.
been like this the whole postseason that I can remember.
That's what I thought. The postseason games, it's worked that way for me every game, which is outstanding. And it's like, see how much easier? Because
it feels smoother.
These ramps, when it's full, it's hard anyway. And I think people accept that to a degree. You're not going to get out in 30 seconds.
Right.
But you can get out a hell of a lot faster, and it encourages the flow so much better. It's not even fun.
The only interesting thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this as well, is that because everybody was getting out so easily, the only place where it log jams is when all three of the lanes converge as you're getting on 394.
Yes.
That was a little choppy, where I said, guys, it was like we were on our own F1 expressway. Can we have a little bit of patience? This is the only place where it's going to be bad for 9 seconds, and there's 3 lanes trying to converge into one.
Yeah.
Got a little tense.
Yeah.
Got a little tense there.
And there's nowhere else to go. So
but other than that 30 seconds, everything else was very smooth.
One piece of really disturbing news, utterly unrelated to the A sports topic of the day. I will tell you, this is one of those days where if you are squeamish about video, be careful what you watch before it's too late on the internet. A horrific scene in Liverpool, scenes that are called appalling. The one video I stumbled on without even realizing it was absolutely hideous. The driver of a car crashed into pedestrians celebrating. Apparently, they were celebrating the city's championship soccer club. And the scene was, well, like I said, appalling is the word, what I've seen. I think the individual responsible there is a person that has been detained, described by the police as a 53-year-old white male. No more details on that individual now. Extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to the collision. The Prime Minister said in a statement on social media he was being briefed on the incident. The quote is from him, that the scenes in Liverpool are appalling. My thoughts with all those injured or affected. Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered. It's along about a 10-mile-long parade route to celebrate the fact that the Liverpool Football Club had won this year's Premier League, the top tier of English soccer. Just hours earlier, police department had urged people to celebrate safely. And that, of course, that mood shattered with the reports of the car plowing through. And like I said, just hideous. And what you'd expect to see, defenseless individuals in a crowd in a car not stopping or slowing at all. What impact that's going to have on bodies, up into the air, etc. Just an absolutely horrific scene. And if we get more information on that, we'll let you know. I mean, we had, where was it? Was it New Orleans?
Yes.
For New Year's. Was it Mardi Gras New Year's? What was it? Where we had a similar scene?
New Year's, because there was a college football playoff game that was about to be played.
Right.
And the teams were in town and they were trying to figure. That's the only reason I remember what the date was. It was around that time. Yeah, New Year's, something around there.
And then the question that always comes up, sadly, because we have so little faith in a fellow man, is, well, there were some barriers that could have been up, but that weren't for various reasons. And it's the old, well, why can't, if you're going to allow crowds like that to assemble, don't you have to have safeguards in place? Well, in theory, who disagrees with that? But real life, is that always as feasible as we like to think?
Right.
In cities and communities where large groups of people congregate, to say every spot is going to be covered, is that even practical in some cases? I don't know. But somehow that vehicle got into a place where there were a bunch of pedestrians, and it was absolutely the scenes I saw without even really wanting to were absolutely horrific. I have not seen any yet numbers in terms of injuries. I'm sure there's going to be more details on that yet to come. I hope there are no fatalities, although it wouldn't be surprised on the basis of the scene that we indeed saw. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Let's make this the bottom of the hour pause. Lots more to get to today. We're at the Target Center Skyway area. Wolves tonight, Game 4 against Oklahoma City. I actually was hoping that for a holiday, it would be a late afternoon game or a 5 o'clock game. But I guess TV rules, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether it's a holiday.
They want the prime time.
They want the prime time.
Yeah.
So the time tonight's the same as always, right?
7:30.
Yeah.
7:30 Central.
Not going to change. What the latest spread I saw I think Oklahoma City's still favored tonight. But I think it was, you asked me before game 1, or before game 3.
Yep.
And I said, I nailed it, right? 2.5?
It was 2.5 then, yeah.
Is it any closer now, or is it still about the same? I'll be very curious to find out what the number might be.
I'll have to pull it up.
But you can, certainly pull that up and let us know. And because I know Oklahoma City, not surprisingly, is still favored to win the series by most of the odds makers. I did note a little bit of a shift among the athletic writers.
Yeah.
Where I think there were
gave us
6 of them polled, and it was 3-3.
Yes.
For game 4.
You're right.
Now that the Wolves won in as dramatic fashion as they did in game 3.
3-point favorites are the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight.
There you go.
So a little bit, I think it may have even pushed up a little bit after we talked on Friday to like 3 or 3.5.
Okay.
But it's 3, Oklahoma City's -3 tonight.
All right, so before we're done, the outstanding sideline reporter on NBA playoffs, George Sedano, is scheduled to join us between 4 and 4:30 from our location. Johnny Athletic will stop by. He's familiar with this perch at about 5. And we also expect a visit with Michael Grady, the TV voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He will join late at about 6:15 or so.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Back in a minute here on The Fan.
Carboni's Pizza wants to fuel your playoff party for Game 4 tonight. Visit one of their 30-plus locations to enjoy delicious pizza and get ready for the playoff run. Find your nearest Carboni's today at carbonispizza.com.
So Guardsy tells me some intel has come in via Twitter. That's the best way to reach us today since we're on location. JG KFAN, Dan Barreiro KFAN as well. What are we hearing from the Rubes?
Well, sources close to the parking ramp situation tell me that the Wolves and Twins had been working with the ramp people.
Negotiating.
For many, many years. And now I just remembered, because people would always yell.
They would blame the team.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would, when there'd be a rain out at Target Field and people would yell at Dave St. Peter. It's like, you got us down here for parking, get your revenue. And then, we're leaving. And Dave St. Peter's like, we don't control ramp A, B, or C. We're very happy that they're there right next to our ballpark and our stadium, but we don't control all of that. But they had been working with the ramps for several years, and then apparently some funding just got approved here for the ramps, maybe to have the staffing before the games, whatever it is, to change their process and procedure. So they it started April 1st is when that started. So my mind that was when the postseason started. So
it's beautiful.
With the start of the Twin season with this, the teams listened.
It's been my quest for, like I said, I think close to 30 years.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to the previous early Wolves years. Once this, obviously, all the ramps. Well, C was not built right away, right? A and B were right away?
I think so.
And then I think C came in. I don't remember exactly.
C is a nice, sneaky little ramp.
That's what everybody tells me.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit more of a walk.
Yeah.
But then easier exit, they tell me.
It can be, and it gets you right on to 394 if you're going where we're going.
Right.
So for our purposes, selfishly, it's a solid ramp.
The other educational note for me, as a person who's always in search of the perfect grilled cheese, I found grilled cheese on that, whatever the main level is. Is it the 100 level?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
And I don't even know the name of the place. They had, it was a spot where they had, burgers, little triple burgers.
The sliders.
The sliders.
Yep.
And then there's a gourmet grilled cheese.
Yeah.
3 different cheeses, which is more exotic than I frankly need. But the bread was good. I enjoyed the hell. And then those nice seasoned chips that came with it. That's the first time I've discovered it. So I don't know how new it is, but that was my, because I'm pretty simple. I mean, I have pretty simple tastes.
Yep.
And I don't need anything that exotic, but I think the chicken tenders here are pretty mediocre. I
would agree with that.
They don't, they're like cutlets. They're just not very good. And the burgers, I think you got to do the app thing, which I'm not interested in doing. You got to order ahead. So this was a place where you could get it done right there. And so the I found the grilled cheese very, very solid.
I think that was it might have been FEMA's food and beverage, curated by celebrity chef David FEMA.
Wouldn't you know?
He should have known. He's going to bring the grilled chease to the masses.
Shouldn't be that surprising, should it?
No, it should not be.
I just made a note sound. I think I hit my phone too hard on the thing. Now I got a buzzing in my ear. We are at the Target Center location in prep for tonight's Wolves Oklahoma City Thunder.
There's
game.
Finchie. He looks locked and loaded.
There he is. He's ready
to go.
And I bet he loves being able just to walk. Think about it. A year ago at this time, remember he was.
Yes.
He just always looked like he was in pain and annoyed and laboring. Now, what did you make of his answer to when somebody said, "Well, what did you guys do with SGA?"
Dane Moore,
and he kind of did the long smile and the long pause. Oh, I'm going to tell you what. Almost like there's some secret sauce. So. What are we hearing from the ball guys? And I'll ask Johnny this: was there a secret part of this thing that we know? Everybody's sworn to secrecy, or was it simply what he went on to say, which was he didn't play as well?
Yeah,
we were more aggressive. We got to spots more, and they did seem to blitz them more. Or is there something else we're going to find out that we discovered that we can use to win 3 more games and reach the NBA Finals?
Well, on the first part of. What did I make of his answer? I don't think any coach is going to go, well, you know what, Dane?
Yeah, bring this guy up.
Yeah. We did this instead of that, and we did this here. And then when he comes here, I don't think he's going to give away the whole scouting report. I think that was part of the sly smile, because some people surmise that he paused to basically say, well, he's not getting fouled every time. Which, even for someone who, of course, is annoyed by the Shea stuff, and by the way, I don't think he's been even close to the foul merchant that we think he is the last 2 games 2 and 3. Is some of that because the Wolves are smarter? Probably. Is some of that because he's just not doing it? I don't know. But in hearing Richard Jefferson talk about it on the broadcast, obviously the blitzing thing was big. They weren't giving him room just to come off. They weren't letting him do the little snake thing.
And he missed a few shots, too.
He missed a few. And I don't think they're playing... He doesn't want to shoot a lot of threes.
No, he's not a very good three-point shooter.
So
streaky at best.
I think they're kind of giving him that. Jefferson said on the TV broadcast that they're almost meeting him later in his drives than they did before. They're not letting him get the contact, up at the 3-point line or just inside the arc. They're almost letting him get inside the arc, and then they're really there. And then there's more people there as well. I think Ant was in there a lot more. So I think that was probably just watching it with my novice eye and listening to the ball guys tell me. I think it was just a lot of different things. And he didn't play very well, and they got off to such a big lead that it became a lot. It became a lot harder to really do anything. Yeah, and then he didn't. I don't think they pulled the plug. Was it early 4th or was it late 3rd? I don't remember. I mean, they pulled it pretty early, didn't they? Yeah, because our starters were out there a little bit longer. Yeah, right. And then we put in. Then it became a G League game. They had the one stretch start of the second half where they got it to, was it down to 22? Yeah. And then immediately timeout, and then we went on 8. We got it back up to 30, and then we went back up to like 30, 35, took complete control of it, which was also important that you are listening to what Nikhil said that we talked about after Game 2, that there can't be even 5 or 6 minute slip-ups. I'm not saying the Wolves would have lost that game if they hadn't charged back immediately after that timeout. When you have that margin for error, it's pretty big. But the idea is you do not want to give them any opening that's necessary. You have to double down on whatever you're doing that's effective as well. Well, everybody was thinking it at halftime. Yeah, they're up 31 or whatever it is. You know that they're coming out with their last push here in the next 5 or 6 minutes, and they've killed you in the third quarter this whole series. Even if they got it to 20 by the end of the fourth, that's still a ball. Correct. Or beginning of the fourth. They just did it against Memphis. Now, I know Ja got hurt that game, but it's possible. Yeah. So there was a lot of unease in that timeout, and thankfully, I think Ant had a 3. They've made a couple of other stops, and they kind of put it to bed. So what do we make of this has more to do so far with the other series, the Eastern Conference Finals.
the fact that we've had several, I think it's now 6 times this year, a team down 20 has come back to win the game. And I think that's as many as there have been in the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm trying to get a handle. Even, conversely, you've had Denver lost by one of the games to Oklahoma City by at least 30. Maybe that was 40. The Wolves just beat Oklahoma City by 42. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City had a game earlier where they were to Memphis down 29 that they ultimately came back and won. But we're seeing these massive blowouts and we're seeing big-time comebacks. So what's that about? Is it all three-point shooting? Is it because we've had three-point shooting around for a while? Is it we've got too many players that are relaxing way too much, that don't seem to have that gear, that understands that you let up in the postseason, other teams are going to take advantage of it? Because something strange is going on here between the blowouts and the relative ease with which teams are staying in games and even overtaking the other team down 20-25.
I think some of it is teams are more even than they've ever been, even at this level, I feel like. Because I don't feel like any team is head and shoulders above anybody else anymore. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City's probably the closest.
They have the best chance to be
because of how they've blown people out all season. But I do think it's 3-point makes and 3-point misses. I do think that's a lot of it. If you just want to take the Celtics and the Knicks, those first 2 games, a lot of it was because the Celtics they never stopped shooting threes. And they kept making them. And then the Knicks would come down and Brunson would score, or they'd make a 3, Cat would get going. I think how good these teams are when you turn the ball over. It's got to be like, what the Wolves had 14 turnovers in game 2, which isn't a terrible number, and Oklahoma City scored 22 points off of that. That's a hell of a points per possession number there. So I do think it is a lot, though, 3-point related, where teams can go on heaters and teams conversely can go so cold that, and then the scoreboard pressure I do think is also a thing, where when you're up big and all of a sudden you give up 8 straight points, and now it's 12. Now it's a ball game. Now one team's tense, one team's freer. I think it's just all those factors into one. And the fact that everybody's got good players. Like, there's not – everybody at this level has a bunch of talented guys that can come out and score, where the margin for error, even with the good teams, is not as large as it once was.
And more importantly, shooters. I think there's more shooters than there used to be.
Well, even look at the heat check, Neesmith went on the other night. Yeah. And I know that wasn't a 20-point deficit that they came back from at the time, but – I mean, he was just shooting the ball because they needed to shoot.
5 3-pointers in the fourth that he made,
It was, a lot of them were just heat checks. We're down. You have nothing to lose. And he bangs in 5 in a row, and all of a sudden it's a ball game and you've lost. It's crazy.
Speaking of turnovers, that was a big item, obviously. The Wolves, I believe, had 2 turnovers the first 13 minutes of the game, and they ended up with a low number throughout. But that was another difference. That it's stating the obvious, but it's still worth noting because it's so important. And so I don't know if that means their defense wasn't quite as sharp, or you concentrate in a way where you are better and more responsible with not giving up the ball. Now, Edwards, I think, ended up with 4 turnovers, but they didn't come in a place where that necessarily it seemed to hurt them to the degree that it has other games. They were just, everything they did was tighter. Everything they did was cleaner than we had seen previously.
Oklahoma City turned it over early, too.
They did.
Including the bizarre 8-second clock violation.
Yes, how about that?
Dante had the deflection, I think, that led to it right at the end of the first quarter. Like, that's just, to me, that was a sign of, like, mentally, they're not completely all there. Because they never do something, Shea especially, where they just kind of fall asleep and not realize that they actually have to get the ball across half court.
Holmgren, he's another one of those young players that when he's going, he's good, but there's some games where he ain't there.
Right.
And that was a game where it didn't look like. He had a couple of plays, but he was not a factor at all. Again, I'm very curious to see, because as like you, I think this is going to be the start of a still long series in which we're finally going to get a good ball game. In the case of the Knicks, the Eastern Conference Finals, every game has been close, right? You could say they've been weird games in that one team's had huge leads, but there have been, important possessions at the end of the game. And you'd like to think sooner or later you're going to see Wolves fans probably don't agree. As a basketball fan, I want to see both these teams at their best.
For sure.
And if they're at their best, it's going down to the last 2 minutes. It's going to be a hell of a ball game, right? And that I see that moving forward, whether this, however many games it takes to for this series to end.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful tonight's tonight.
Yeah,
because you want, when you think conference finals, you think you should see some classics at some point. And tonight seems like you'd love it to be tonight. Wolves win. Game 5, same thing. Come back here, Game 6, whoever's up 3-2. Because that's what this time of year is supposed to be, I think, from just a fan standpoint. You mentioned the turnovers. How about Mike Conley running around like he's 22 on Saturday? I mean, he's sprinting the floor. He outjumped 2 guys, including, I think, McDaniels, to get a rebound. He cuts all the way across the court to grab a long rebound. Like, he knows he's going to play like 6 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And we talked about it on Friday. He probably should play more, just given how tight they are defensively and how he's the one guy you don't freak out about bringing it up against this Oklahoma City defense. I mean, you could tell he was playing like he was 25 years old, like with his energy. And even when Ant had that foul at midcourt, he's getting the crowd going. He's, peacocking to I think Randall's kids in the crowd after he makes that 3. Like, that was fun. That was fun to see.
Maybe he did one of those blood platelet things, one of those injections or whatever. Yeah.
Well, no, he does dynamic drips.
Well, that's what
his sponsor.
Is.
He's a healthier,
got an extra drip,
more hydrated
extra IV drip.
Dynamicdrips.com.
That could be it. Who's to say?
I'm sure it is.
Who's to judge? Randall is worth a mention or two as well. In that, again, I mean, it's no big surprise he did not play in the fourth quarter of Game 2, had his worst game of the postseason. And I do think, because he admitted, I don't know where, one of the interviews, he admitted, in fact, this may have been one of the stories where folks were talking about Edwards' role after games, and that Edwards kind of settled him down because he admitted he was very hot after the game. He was hot because he didn't play.
He said it in the postgame.
He said it in the postgame
on Saturday.
Well. Okay.
Yep.
So, again, I look at this is... if you look back at Randall's history, I think there's far less possibility 3 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, but certainly not 4 or 5 years ago, that he would end up taking, relatively speaking, the high road that he did after being benched, whether he played poorly or not, which he did. He had played badly. I think you're seeing, what you have to hope is a guy starting to figure out, I can go off here because I have a right, because I've got status in this league, and it's just not fair for me. In fact, on the TNT crew,
yes,
they both, Barkley heavily, and I think, was it Kenny as well? It was Barkley for sure.
Yeah,
can't do that. You might lose him.
Right.
There is always that question out there. You can end up, making a point now, but are you going to lose the player long term? And
Barkley said, if I'm the player, I'm sitting there going, we're getting our ass kicked, and coach is blaming me.
Right.
That was interesting to hear them take that tack, but they've obviously been in that situation.
What's weird is usually they're the ones who are tougher on the player.
Right.
And Randall played crappy.
Right.
He played a bad game. I know the comeback to that is, but if he's your guy, you still have to have faith in him to get to the other side. But that's part of why coaches are paid the big bucks. They have to make those kinds of calculations. And there certainly was no sign in game 3 that the Finchie move had backfired, right? Because he played very well.
Great.
And again, I like it better when early in games he's not just jacking threes, because that's another change I think they made offensively. We talked to Johnny about it. It looked to me like they used him a lot more. I heard Mitchell talk about this on the elbow, where he's getting the ball down a little bit lower again, and his game, I think that he can shoot from 3, so you don't want to exclude it. But to me, you're better with him if you get him active, the old downhill deal, sometimes scoring, sometimes passing the ball. I like that better. But he rebounded nicely, and I think this is a difference between a player maybe at different points in his career, because I think earlier with the Knicks, he'd have lost his mind in that situation.
Right.
And in this case, I think he took the high road, a little bit more mature approach. Everybody profits from that, and we saw that because he was obviously very good in Game 3. And he is, I think, when he's going good, a pretty tough matchup for Oklahoma City.
You want to know how locked in he was? I mean, you saw him switching out on guys near midcourt defensively.
Yes.
Because that's the other part of the Randall thing that we don't always get, that defensive intensity or wherewithal.
No doubt.
Even in game 2, that was probably part of the reason. I mean, he lost his guy baseline 3 or 4 times that led to easy dunks. He hit some tough shots in the first quarter, too. Like that fadeaway from the baseline on the right side, right in front of the Oklahoma City bench. Like, that's a big-time, 18-foot fadeaway.
Yeah.
Pretty well contested. Like, he was ready to go. Apparently, he works out downstandz a Lifetime right before every game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he walks by the homies every pregame. This is
right?
Julius Randle with 2 dudes.
By,
so similar pregame routine to me is just get a lift in and then go watch the game. And then he had a couple big finishes too, through contact, through traffic, and that's the guy. That's the reason they're here, is because he's been like that.
Somebody said there was a play where he went under a screen in game 3, lost his man, ended up whoever made the shot. And that you could even hear on the broadcast, I don't know if this is true, you could hear Edwards say, "Julius!"
Yeah.
And he didn't respond at first, and so he yelled at him again, and then finally he did he patted his chest like he'd done the wrong thing. So there's apparently a lot of awareness
He
going
knows.
out there.
Yeah, he knows. And Ant's, again, that's one of Ant's gifts, I think, is being able to, he was on Rudy's ass a couple times in game 3. You can tell, he is good at that stuff and talking him off the ledge a little bit after game 2. Because game 2, he was out to lunch defensively, and then he was consumed with the officiating. He spent, from people that were there, it sounds like he spent an entire timeout just arguing with the ref.
Randall, yes.
About
which
something.
may have been part of what caused the bench.
Probably.
Very possible.
Because, you know me, and my antenna's always up for the officiating, but I'm watching those plays and going, there was no foul there. Whatever you're mad about, that's not the hill to die on here. And I'm sure they probably just said, because I'm sure we talked about it on Friday. I think Chris Finch wants to sit Julius Randle. He's like the one guy that has
more
stood
than anybody,
as the ship is taking on water in the regular season and going, I believe in this guy. I believe in this guy. I believe in this guy. But at some point, you had no choice but to do it.
So the plan the rest of the way is several on-location guests from our Cage location, we hope. Well, we know Johnny will show up at 5:02. We expect Michael Grady will show up about 6:15, kind of late. So the show may be extended a little bit beyond 6:30, and then we're hoping for George Sedano right between 4 and 4:30.
Yeah,
odds lessening on any other surprise special guests. You never know. I guess we're not going to say no.
You never know because they have to walk by us.
Do they?
Usually, depending on which way they go. So
could you go tackle somebody, or that might be a bit aggressive?
Depends on who it is.
Do they have security when they walk?
Some of them do. Yeah, some of them do. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them do. Stephen A's got security.
I would think he would at this point.
And I'm guessing Stephen A's got his own entrance, too. I'm guessing he's not coming in.
He doesn't have to come in the same way as everybody else.
He's not coming in where Johnny Athletic's coming in.
Yeah. Well,
or Dan Barreiro or Justin Gard.
You're probably right. Top of the hour pause here. We are Target Center, Skyway location. 7:40 opening face-off tonight. Wolves and Oklahoma City Thunder. In a game 4 that I think nationally the interest will be perking up because the Wolves did what they had to do to get the interest of everybody, including their opponent, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in what wasn't a fluky victory, but was a very assertive statement. The question is whether they can build on it because, as we said earlier, if you lose tonight, it's going to be a footnote that you happen to not only beat them, but beat them by 42. But you've seen what you need to do. You may have planted a little bit of doubt in the opponent. And so the opportunity here is to do something with what you did playing as well as they did in game number 3. Back from the Cage, Target Center, on the Fan, next.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.